This is day 4 of my Halloween card series, and today I'm going to be working on smooth white cardstock. This is 260 GSM, and I've chosen to work with a stamp set by PaperArtsy from their Hot Picks line. I've chosen the skull image from this stamp set and I've inked it up using VersaFine Black, and I've also used my stamp positioner to align the image in the centre of my card. Now I'm using some masking paper which is self-adhesive and comes on a roll. I bought this product many years ago, so I cannot remember who it was manufactured by or indeed if it is still being produced, but it's a very useful paper to have if you can find it. I've stamped the skull onto this and now I'm just cutting it out so that I can use the mask over the image that has already been stamped on the card. With the mask in place, I can start to apply some colour. I've chosen 3 shades of Distress ink. The first one that I'm working with here is the Mustard Seed, that is the lightest of the 3 inks, and then I am also going to use the Peeled Paint, which is the darkest colour, around the edges, and then I'll be blending the two together using the Crushed Olive, which is the medium shade. When I'm happy with the blending of the colour, I'm adding a few water droplets, and this will create some texture as well as lift off some of the colour. I'm being very careful here to use a tissue to mop up the water from on top of the mask, because that could seep through into the stamped area underneath it and I don't want to get colour onto that. So as soon as I've filmed this clip, I actually change the mask and put a fresh one that's dry on top of it. Next, I'm going to add some stamping to the background. I've chosen a linen effect background stamp by Stampin' Up, and I'm going to use this with the archival ink in Fern Green. Now I'm taking a second stamp. This is a script stamp. It is by a company called Katie's Corner, who unfortunately are no longer trading, although you could use any kind of text stamp for this effect. I'm using the same archival ink in Fern Green, though you can see the difference in intensity with the boldness of that stamp in comparison to the linen stamp, which is quite delicate. Now I'm using a third stamp on the project. This time I'm going to stamp in VersaFine Onyx Black. This is because I'd like this stamp to be at the forefront of the project and it needs to stand out against the other stamping that is already on the background. The flourish stamp that I'm using here is produced by a company called Tuscan Rose, who are a US based company. To finish the edges of the card, I'm taking the VersaFine ink in Onyx Black and using it direct to paper to deepen the edges and form a border. Now I'm going to remove the mask, and you will see the contrast of the stark white card against the vivid colours of the background, and this is a technique and effect that I like very much on cards. Now I'm taking a piece of black linen effect cardstock and I'm using this to layer my design onto. For the card base, I'm using smooth white cardstock, that is 325 GSM, and I'm using double-sided tape to add my design onto the base. I've also stamped the back of the card with a Judikin stamp. I have detailed that in previous videos on the series if you want to check those out. And now it's time to work on the insert. For this, I've chosen a die by Joy Crafts, and I've cut this in 160 GSM cardstock. I'm going to use distress inks to add some colour to this, and these will be in the same colours that I used for the front of the card. That would be the mustard seed, the peeled paint and the crushed olive. Now I'm going back to the PaperArtsy stamp set, and I've chosen some text from there, and this is quite a large text. It doesn't leave a lot of room for writing your message in, but I really liked this particular stamp and I wanted to use it. So when I actually add the insert to the card, I only put adhesive tape at the top, so you could write your message underneath the insert, or you could alternatively write it on the left hand side of the card. That was the last step in creating today's card. I hope you enjoyed watching. As always, there is a link to the full product list in the video description, as well as my social media links.